Okay, cool. Well, HasuObs. Some of you may not know him, but I think almost every one of you knows him. But HasuObs is a pro gamer in Warcraft 3 and StarCraft 2 and HOTS. And recently, of course, of Heroes of the Storm. And I thought it'd be cool to invite HasuObs so we could talk about some of the maps together. I had this idea to do a map guide for every single Storm League map that we have right now. So to be clear, if we look at the maps, right now the battlegrounds are all of these. And that's quite a few maps. And I was making map guides one by one and kind of extensive. But there's like a couple of recurring themes per map. Easy win following tips, where if you just do this one or two or three different things better, you can already play and understand the map better. So my goal for us here is to go for every map and come up with the 3 most relevant general rules to do. Something like never try to force cap the dragon on Dragon Shire, like use it for other reasons. Or a single tribute on Cursed Hollow doesn't matter that much. Or the Alterac Pass objective is so strong you should drop everything and go there immediately. There could be a bunch of fun, simple tips per map, and we'll go through the maps one by one. And who better to join me for this than for me to just try by myself than HasuObs, who has been playing Heroes of the Storm for many years on a competitive level. That's the plan.
That sounds good. Yeah, that's actually a pretty good idea. I like it.
And
which map do you want to start with, actually?
Yeah, let's see. Let's start at the top. It's actually perfect timing for us to do this as well, because finally, Blizzard has stopped changing the terrain that we're walking on. Because they're not developing, this map guide will be evergreen and always relevant. Isn't it great?
Yeah, it's infinite, actually. We'll never change again, most likely, at least. Yeah, that's true, that's true.
Please, Microsoft, don't touch the game.
That also means we stick with Braxis, Warhead, and Hanamura forever.
Oh God, no!
But yeah.
That's true. That's true. Well, let's try to get better at them then. Okay, Hasu, let's start at the top. Alterac Pass.
Yeah, so Alterac Pass, right? One of the newer maps actually in the pool, if you think about HOTS as a game overall. So what is important on the map? So first of all, the objective, right? You have to kill the Guardians and then start channeling. And then you cap it after, what is it, between 20 and 50 seconds, I think, later in the game.
I think it's 30, 40, and 50 for the first 3 objectives, respectively, and then 50 seconds all the time. And it's like 2, 3, and 4 grunt defenders.
You're already better than me, right?
Because of Bahamut, he knows these things. But
he knows these things, yeah. We actually have Cavalier guest in the team. He also knows all the numbers. But yeah, so the objective is actually pretty strong to push with. Then Alterac has 2 bosses. In HOTS, you should always think of a boss as a win condition. Alterac is a little bit different though, but we come to that in a minute, I think. And then it has an easy camp, the Gnolls, the hyenas in the middle of the map, which spawn very quickly.
90 seconds?
So yeah, exactly. And you can do them at minute 1. And they're actually very strong. They're pretty tanky and they reduce the armor while attacking opponents, structures, heroes, anything. So they are very strong. They are the real boss on the map. You should always do them.
Okay.
If you can. And let's think about some heroes that can do them pretty easily. Like what comes to mind actually when you think about Alterac actually?
Hogger. I always think of Hogger first. Then Blaze can do it all right. Jaina and Greymane. And that's when we're thinking of like the Nullpack camp. Junkrat.
Exactly, Junkrat, Rhaegar can help. Exactly, like these are the heroes that are generally very strong on Alterac, because if you have one of them, you can usually do the Gnolls by yourself, and Maiev is one of them as well. And it's very important on Alterac to be able to do the Gnoll camp, because if the opponent can do it easily and you can't, then you actually you have a problem, right? Because they're gonna be able to push with it. They always have mid lane advantage, and on Alterac Pass, mid lane, if you think about the layout of the map, it's very important to control map in mid lane, and if you kill the fort, it's so much easier to contest the objective, because it's either in the north or on the south side, and the mid fort is always the anchor point for the objective. So if you want to contest or play for it, and we've all been there on Alterac, right? We try to channel the objective, and then there's like a Chromie or a Stukov with lurking arm on the other side, infinite stalling you. If you get rid of the fort behind that hero, then usually they can't do it anymore.
So the middle fort is a defensive anchor point. You can use long-range, artillery-range heroes to continually interrupt people from channeling the objective. Now, you said the objective is strong. If you were to express it in all objectives on all maps, what strength it is on a scale of 1 to 10?
Pretty strong, like 6 or 7 maybe, yeah. Because and I won tournament games because of it. Like the generals in late game, they hit really hard. Like if you get them and they reach the core, they actually smack it down.
Yeah.
And they provide an aura. I think it's damage and movement speed.
Movement speed,
So
auto attack damage, and spell power.
There you go. So if you push with them, it's you know, you are enhanced while pushing with it. It's very strong, especially in a 1v1 matchup. Like if one hero is pushing and the other guy is defending, you actually have a lot more kill pressure while going with the general. And I wanted to touch on the bosses on Alterac because the core mechanic, right? It's very unique, Alterac. So the core is able to walk around. It can regenerate HP after taking damage and being left alone for a while. And it has armor. It has 3 plates. Each keep represents 1 plate. So if you kill all 3 keeps, then the core is without any armor. It's a lot easier to kill. But technically, you only need to open 1 keep and then go for the core, right? But it has, I think it's 20 armor per keep. So it's actually pretty tanky to take down. And it spins around. Like we've probably been there, and the core is actually very feisty to attack. So while the boss usually requires a win condition on Alterac, it can still be a win condition. Let's say 2 keeps are down and you push with the boss level 20, you can actually go try to end the game.
Yeah.
But oftentimes on Alterac, you send the boss as a distraction to maybe open up the objective or I don't know, push on the other side of the map. Maybe you kill the last remaining fort while someone is defending the keep where the boss would be pushing. It is good to have a hero that can do the boss quickly. For example, Hanzo with W on 4 or Genji Shingan on 13. Like these heroes, they speed up the boss process big time. Greyman, of course, and some others. But it is not a full requirement for the map, I'd say.
So you said the objective is a 6 to 7 strength. I would actually normally say it's a 9.
Okay, yeah, you're probably right. Actually, like it might be stronger. I'm trying to think in my mind, like what is the strongest objective? I should have been prepared on that one actually.
No, it's okay. It's a discussion, but like if we look at the others, right? Battlefield of Eternity, that's not a 9. It's good, but not a 9.
Yeah, true.
Braxis, not a tournament map, so you don't play it as much, but it is a Storm League map, so we'll deal with it. Braxis typically ends at 15 minutes. That's relatively early. In that sense, it could be stronger than Alterac because Alterac doesn't end in 15 minutes. Though it feels strong, it doesn't end that early. Mm-hmm. So it depends how you classify it. Is it like how early can it win the game? Or like how strong does it feel? Like how stoppable is it when you're 5v5?
Yeah, but it's probably higher than 6 or 7. Then I agree.
Let's go at it like a 7.5 or an 8 out of 10, right?
Yeah, I guess we can look at the very end to see if the numbers make sense or not. But
yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So we recognize the importance of drafting a hero that can do the null pack camp easily, because the null pack camp is almost like the main objective for a large portion of the game, as it pushes out mid keep, and the top boss and the bottom boss have access to killing top fort and bottom fort and top keep and bottom keep, and the only way to get the mid one is through the null pack cap spam or random vanilla pushes, but null pack by far the most effective. And on most maps you need 1 keep down to win the game, but on Alterac you pretty much need 2 keeps down to win the game under average conditions. So mid is like a key, because it's really hard to get both bosses and to push down a keep with it because of the range distance between the 2 bosses. So it's much easier to get one boss, opponent gets the other boss, and then if you had mid as well, that's your 2 keeps. And that's how you can win. So if we frame this within the top 3 tips, it would be like, okay, drafting, draft well. It's very important on this map, draft.
Have a hero for the Gnoll camp. Like that is the highest prio on the map. Like if you are last pick and you see you have, I don't know, Muradin, Malfurion, Nova, and what offlane would you have? Irel or something? So
Yeah.
all of these 4 heroes, they can't really do the Gnoll camp. Pick something that can do the Gnolls easily for your team. It's gonna be so much easier if you're able to do it fast.
Exactly. And if you are the last and you have to fill that way, definitely do. But if you happen to pick first, one surefire way is to increase your win chances in Storm League is to always pick that hero immediately, just in case your team ends up failing and not taking anything of that.
That's true, yeah. And then, like in general, like in terms of HOTS drafting, so I personally think you in Storm League you can win with almost any, or basically with any hero if you play well on it. Obviously, it always depends on the rest of the composition as well, if it fits or not. But obviously, like wave clear is important. Draft the main components, so have a tank, a support, and an offlane. And then the other two are a little bit more flexible. Usually, you can have one range carry that has little wave clear, as long as the other one has a lot of wave clear. So let's say, yeah, I don't know, let's take Nova for an example. Of course you can win with Nova in Storm League, but
Yeah.
she's gonna lack wave clear, right? So ideally, the other pieces of the draft, offlane, tank, and the second range, have good wave clear to make up for what Nova is lacking, basically.
So a null pack spammer, a range carry, anything, a tank, a healer, and then one wave clear god.
Exactly, yeah. That's how I see it, yeah.
Yeah.
There's one more, like little, or something interesting about Alterac. When you channel the objective, right? If you're playing Anubarak, for example, and he's actually the almost the prime tank on Alterac, you can walk to the objective, you summon one of your beetles, and the defenders will actually start hitting the beetle. So the big beetle can start camping the objective, which is very annoying for the opponents because they have to babysit you basically all the time. And it's a very easy way to get a few percentages out of the objective. And sometimes, if they are very uncoordinated, you might get the whole thing because they realize it too late.
Very true. So this is encapsulated in one point. Besides the draft well and the null pack spammer, you have the full roster that can do things. And then you get the wave clear god. And one big bonus that can be reprised by really any role, it can be bruiser, it can be tank, it can be range damage, is a summoner. Anubarak is the top pick, but if you want to be a cool guy and pick something non-meta like Nova, Zigara, or Nazeebo, some of them are actually quite meta, like Zag, and to a degree Nazeebo sometimes. A summoner hero is a huge bonus because you can cap the objective without killing the guards. And to that I would like to add one point, is when you notice that someone on your team has a summoner hero and they're cheesing the objective by bypassing the guards, you don't need to rush there to go for an all or nothing battle and trying to defend that 30, 40, 50 second window to actually finish the objective. You can just leave that be, leave that as it is. The opponent is now forced to send 2 or more heroes to go and defend it to stop the Nazeebo / Gazlo / Anubarak from getting those free seconds of capping. This gives you the freedom to push in the opposite lane and take down a couple of towers. It is the freedom to act and do something else as well.
Yeah, that's very much true. Like if you see your Anubarak fiddling around alone at the opponent's objective, you don't need to run there. Like he's probably better off if he's alone, because then he draws resources towards him, and you, as you said, you can push the opposing lane.
You can join him though, but you don't have to. That's the point.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so we have the and then so that you can win with the objective, you can win with the boss. Point 1 would be draft well, null pack spammer. I guess point 2 is actually get a summoner.
Yeah, or someone that can stall the objective. Like if you think about the channeling process, right? So I guess there's like 2 ways. You can either annoy the opponent as long as possible, and for example, someone like Junkrat, he does the camp pretty well, and he can stall very long if he has vision. So sometimes they fill like 2 spots in one. And yeah, as you said, like a summoner to maybe get the objective, but I'd say it's not 100% required, right? Because if you show up with full force at the objective, you just take down the Guardians and then you fight around it. Then you don't need anyone to have an ad to tank the Guardians there, right?
Sure. And if you had to choose between this is a macro map or this is a 5-on-5 team battle map, which one would it be?
I think on high level, there's a lot of macro involved. That's how I feel, at least. You can do a lot of rotations because it has 2 bosses and the map is very big, right? It's a long walking distance to get from A to B. So I feel it's a pretty macro-heavy map, but I also think that really depends on what kind of MMR you play on. I think in the lower leagues, people are more prone to just group together and fight. On any map, honestly, probably. So, but yeah, I think it's rather more macro-heavy, actually. And like pickoffs, I think, is what you would do on high-level play. You get like, you try to get one hero that makes like a slight mistake, and then you capitalize by either getting a boss or the objective, or one of the plus the Gnoll camp at the same time. That's the dream.
Right. Let's say if you had a choice, you get 1 or 2 kills, and everything is available. Boss, objective, other boss, what do you do?
I think you should, if you can, start the channel of the objective, because it takes quite some time to fully cap it. I think usually the Gnolls are better than the boss, but it depends a little bit on where you got the takedowns, right? If you're already right next to the boss, you might as well do it, because you don't want to walk all the way home to get to the Gnolls. But honestly, I think oftentimes doing the Gnolls is just as good as doing the boss on Alterac.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. This boss seems to be below average strength compared to like the usual Granite Golem boss, the Grave Golem.
Yeah, I agree, yep.
Sometimes it goes to a full keep wall and it only kills like 1.5 towers if you just take it and forget and send it.
True. And I actually, we forgot to, like Alterac has one more unique thing. They don't have catapults on the map.
Oh yeah, the Reaver minions. Do you classify them as stronger or weaker than catapults?
I think weaker?
I think so too.
Yeah, I think they are weaker than a catapult.
And because the core regenerates, no half measures ever are worth anything.
Exactly, yeah. It's the odd thing that on Alterac you almost never have to defend your core when minions are pushing.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes if the opponent's then all in the core, they can actually kill it because it drops slow. But usually on other maps, catapults, as you said, the regeneration of the core and how feisty it fights back, it's like 2 things that speaks for it. On other maps, you would take permanent damage right from the catapults. On Alterac, you can actually usually ignore that.
Do games more often go to level 20 or not?
Yes, I think
more
so.
to 20.
Yeah.
So get good level 20 heroes.
Yeah, that can help, yeah.
Cool, I think we have our 3 tips. And we've had enough discussion about Alterac as well. That's sick. We're gonna move to the next map?
Mm-hmm, yep.
Next map is Battlefield of Eternity.
Battlefield of Eternity, yeah. In fact, the best 2-lane map, in my opinion, that we have in the game.
Yeah, compared to, let's see, Braxis, Hanamura, and that's it.
Yeah.
Just 3,
yeah. Yeah. And it's a pretty old map at this point. It's been around for a very long time, so it's pretty fleshed out, like early game rotations and what is possible on the map, I feel like. So...
Haunted Mines, hello, says chat. Well, it's not in the Storm League pool, so...
True. So on Battlefield, what is important, right? So you have the objective spawning in the middle of the map. It's the big guy that you need to bring down, and then it's going to fight for you. And there's some heroes that have very good race potential, right? So let's say Hanzo, Greymane. There's some off lanes like Artanis, for example, that can work, that have good PvE damage to bring down to increase your race. And these are usually having one of them is pretty beneficial, I think, on Battlefield, especially in Storm League. If you have one of the heroes, Vala with Q-Build, for example, on level 7, brings a big punch to it.
But also on lower leagues, people typically get all of them. You'll see a draft with Vala and Raynor and Artanis, and now suddenly your double range and offlane have almost no CC. You're all race, but when it comes to a battle, you're not in a great spot.
Yeah, just dodge the battle and get the immortal, right? But it's a bit harder on BoE as it's only 2 lanes and very centered in the middle. So I'd say having one is a good start. And you have to think of BoE. Sometimes you're gonna be in these stalemate positions in the middle, right? Where both teams kind of show up. And you don't really want to fight in the opponent's immortal because of the boss stuns and the circles. And You're gonna get tossed in by a Garrosh or something, and then you get the Mobsio treatment, as we call it. Like, you're gonna get perma CC'd until you die under the boss stand. So you're gonna have the dance around where you poke with heroes, and some heroes are very good at poking. So for example, Hanzo, he actually does both. He can race very well by himself, but also poke very well. Like, you can shoot your Ws and your Qs from outside the boss area, and you still get damage onto the Immortal. Chromie can do that as well. Blaze Q. There's like a few heroes that do it very well.
So some are like not good racers, but they do have poke, like Blaze Oil Slick.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you've got good racers like Artanis, but he has no poke, and then some do it both.
Yeah. Artanis has very good race, but yeah, you're right. If he walks into the boss pit, he usually doesn't get out. Like, you will have to fight with him till the end, and that's like one of the big weaknesses of him. But yeah.
So if we were to condense it, something about the boss to one tip that can be easily written down.
Yeah, pick one good race hero, right? I think that's like we want to have one hero in the draft that has good race. So either a Vala, a Reyna with Exterminator,
Do you
maybe
need
a Greymane.
At minimum one poker as well, just in case you got the Immortal down to 53%, but nobody can step up, because you could have like Greymane, Artanis, Rhaegar, you've got great race, Myrddin with Q build, and then a healer like Anduin, but now you literally can't finish it off without having a threat to you.
I think it makes it a lot easier. That being said, though, in Storm League, people are impatient. So if you start poking the boss down, your team usually is gonna engage at some point, like out of nowhere. They're like, okay, now we need to go in, and it's like, you started at 53%, you're down to 20, so you're almost there. You just need to poke, 10 more seconds or something, and then they go in. I think it's easier if you have one of these heroes, but. Yeah.
You don't think it's necessarily a high win chance strat per se, just because there's an ideal way of doing things and there's a common Storm League way of doing things?
Exactly, yeah. I think that's how to phrase it, yeah.
What about those drafts where you go for a full defensive team? The really difficult ones. You've got 2 side soakers, you don't have any race, but you're constantly trying to defend and leverage the defensive boss stun advantage. Do you think those have any luck on Storm League? I usually find it quite hard.
I think that's very hard in Storm League, and honestly, it's pretty hard in competitive play as well. There are some drafts that, as you said, they have very little race, and they basically usually lose the early game. They try to lower the shield as much as they can so they don't fall too far behind, and then they start winning like mid to late game. Because they get some kills, like they are stronger in team fights, they get kills, and then they can get the boss even though they race very slowly. There is a lot of things that can go wrong with that, though. And, as I just said, you try to stop the bleeding early game, but Battlefield can be a very snowbally map. If you are the team that gets 100% shield on the first Immortal, you're gonna kill their fort, and you might be level 10 versus 9 for the second objective, and that's usually checkmate if you get to that position. So I wouldn't recommend drafting in that way. Like, you should have one guy that can race, or poke at least, so you get the shield down, you are able to interact with the boss from a little bit of a distance, or if need be, you can fully race. So yeah, that's good.
Okay.
Yeah? Oh no, go ahead.
My first tip is always include one racer with high PvE damage, but go ahead.
Yeah. I wanted to touch on the camps on Battlefield, because I said like the map is kind of figured out early game.
Yeah.
And I think it's something in Storm League you see people didn't figure it out yet, or they don't know per se, or they get busy brawling, so they don't know, or they don't do what they're supposed to do because they are stacking damage. You should do the hard camp, like the bruiser camp, and you should do it around minute like 2:15 or something. So you're ready to cap it at like 2:45, roundabout.
2:45, yes. So 2:45 bruiser camp cap.
Yeah, and if you wonder like what is this number about, it's basically right before the objective spawns, so it gives the opponents another threat to deal with, and the bruiser camp on Battlefield constantly resummons the little doggos. It's like a fallen shaman, right? So it constantly resummons the 2 minions that it has.
Yep.
And if you don't deal with it, it's actually gonna take down the whole fort, right? So it is a very good tool. Especially, I would think, in lower leagues as well, when people just come 5v5 to brawl. If one of the teams has the hard camp and the other ones don't, that should usually be very good for you.
And should you defend the Bruiser camp when it gets to your gate at 305?
I think there should be one hero dealing with it, yeah. Usually, I mean, yeah,
I've,
I think
I've
there
heard
should
it
be
say
one hero.
before that you should not defend against it because when you have 2 towers up and 2 clashing minion waves, one with the Bruiser, is that it will kill itself on the double towers.
Is that always the case, though?
I think I've seen both happen.
Yeah, I've seen both happen as well, and maybe I would need to ask, like, my offlane how exactly, because they probably pay more attention to that, because usually it's their job to deal with it. But if, like, okay, let me put it like this: if you're a hero that has a very easy to throw in the camp, like let's say you are Irel, right?
Yeah.
And the fallen shaman is walking up, you can knock it into tower range. That will usually do the trick. There's some other heroes that can do similar, or
Hogger.
sometimes you just straight up very easily clear it as well with the hero that you play. So it's usually good to do it, I think. And there's and we do have 2 more camps, right? The easy, the goatman,
The Khazra Impalers, yeah. How
Exactly.
important are they and how should you time them?
Yeah, they are not all too important, but you don't want to lose both camps, right, in the early game. So usually, what we see in Storm League on BOE, there's gonna be like a 4v4 on bottom and a 1v1 on top. The offlane's battling it out in the 4v4, and usually in the 4v4 you will determine pretty quickly who is stronger, especially when it comes to on-point fight. Like, let's say we fight for the easy camp. There's gonna be one team that is usually stronger than the other.
Yeah.
Be it they have better zone control or just, I don't know, they have double support. You cannot fight into the double support there. It's impossible. You can't kill them in time. If that's the case and they start the camp, you have to send someone to top lane and do the top easy camp because you don't want to lose both, right? You want to trade 1 for 1 in that case.
Yes. And let's also talk about the 4-1 split. 4-1 split makes no sense.
Yeah, it's gonna happen in Storm League though. I don't think you can really avoid it.
It's just for simplicity's sake, right? Like, people are used to it and they're going to keep doing it. But there's nothing that makes bottom lane the 4-man over the top lane.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. Yeah, there is no... Yeah, there's no reason for that.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah, that's how the Storm League meta defined. And honestly, you kind of see it in competitive as well. What you usually see is that it's like one hero on each lane, and the other 3 are kind of like out of vision. They are either close to bot lane or top lane, but they usually don't show because they don't add much to the wave clear. And they will only come out if, I don't know, the opponents start hitting the wall, or if they have to do the easy camp on the other side, for example.
Yeah.
So like staying slightly out of vision. I mean, that's generally on all maps a good thing. If you don't add anything to wave clear, you should probably not auto-attacking the minions.
Yeah, but in Storm League, people just go 4 bot. They will die and realize that their 4-man is weaker, and then you should go get the other Khazra.
Yeah, after you died, hopefully you have enough time to still go top and do it, right? Death timers are short in early game. It's not the end of the world. Just don't instantly run to bottom again and die 1 more time.
Yeah. Okay. Then, when it comes to the Immortal, anything we can say there, like... So we have always include 1 racer, we have cap the bruiser camp at 245 and clear the attacking one.
Yeah.
The third and final tip. The most
final tip.
effective way to add value, like draft a lot of stuns or displacement in order to combo with the boss stun, perhaps.
Yeah, that is a good. I think that's what it comes down to, honestly. Like, I think if you, I mean, it's not always going to be the case, right? For example, I think Muradin is a very strong tank on BOE. He does bring a stun, but he doesn't push you into the boss or anything. I mean, you could with Haymaker, but that's a little bit far-fetched. But
yeah.
Usually having a bit of mobility on the heroes, because there's a lot of bushes on Battlefield in the middle of the map, right? So someone like Irel actually really benefits from that, because she can jump over and then knock one of the squishies or maybe the support in. Garrosh can be good, because you can throw people into the boss circles. And in general, vision tools are very important. So that brings me back to Hanzo actually, and that's why you see him a lot on this map. He brings Race, he has Poke, and he has the Sonic Arrow that actually reveals one side. Because if you are in the stalemate position in the middle, you will lose vision on either the north or the south, right? So you can use your Sonic Arrow on one of the side, and then your offlane is covering the other, so you can freely poke. That would be the ideal setup. The Lunara Wisp is actually insane on Battlefield, given how many bushes we have in the middle and how much it reveals. And I mean, vision is a very good tool to control the opponents and to get an edge, right? So, I think actually on Battlefield in the middle of the map, it is pretty important to have at least one of the heroes that provides that.
It makes sense. This is a map where, just like in Infernal Shrines, and perhaps even more so here, 360-degree fights are more common than almost on any other map, compared to Braxis, which is very front to back. So you want to have mobility to dodge engage, you want to have engage, creative jump engage in order to force it, and you want to have vision to not get surprised.
Exactly, yeah. And there's plenty of vision tools, right? Some are, I mean, the Wisp and the Sonic Arrow are very obvious, but
Rhaegar totem, slow totem, healing totem.
Exactly. We can even talk about Junkrat. I know he's not very common on BOE, but he technically has a very good kit to control his side of the map. Like he has 2 traps and a mine. That's technically 3 vision tools.
And
he brings very little
4 grenades, which all have some vision too lingering, right?
True, exactly. Obviously, he's very weak in terms of racing the boss, but like he is very strong in another department. So you could also win with him if you have a hero that works very well while racing, for example.
Makes sense. Cool, super interesting. Let's go to next. You have some competitive experience on Braxis Holdout?
Very little, but we actually played it at the last BlizzCon, actually. It was the final map against GNG. We did lose on it, though, so I'm not an expert.
For Storm League, then, we can't help but play it. There's no map veto system in Storm League.
So,
let's see. How strong is the objective? Is it a 9?
Yeah, it's very strong. It's very snowbally, right? We've all been there, and maybe Braxis is the most snowbally map in Storm League. Like we all lost games in like 4, 5, 6 minutes.
It's
unrecoverable.
It's either Braxis or Hanamura.
Yeah, the
Hanamura,
2-line map.
You can feel so much like you're just not playing the game when you're 2 levels behind. Like, if your opponent invades your Sentinel and you lose, you're like level 3 versus 5, and you just end up being passive with no vision the rest of the game until you lose.
Yeah, they have both watchtowers in the middle, and then good luck finding an engage. Braxis is a little bit better in that sense, because there is technically more room to find traps or find someone.
Yeah, there are more hobbies when you're behind on Braxis. There's more comeback potential. Nonetheless, it can be the most snowbally as well.
Yeah. So I think in terms of Storm League drafting, there's 2 ways, and usually we only see one way really getting drafted. It's similar to Battlefield, actually, where it's a 4-1 split. Also kind of for no reason, just to simplify it.
Yeah.
If you play like that, you can draft something that is very strong in the 4-man. Like, let's say Vala, Zarya, Johanna, and like a support that is very strong in the 4-man, right?
Morales.
So you dominate the bot lane. Sorry?
Lieutenant Morales?
Oh yeah, actually, absolutely. Yeah. Morales is fantastic for that, like continuously brawling. That works, yeah. Auriel can work in that case as well, if you have someone that gives you a lot of energy and they can't burst you in time. That is usually pretty strong in Storm League doing that, honestly. And the other way is a little bit more subtle, because even on the higher level of play, people are gonna be kind of in the 4-man anyways. They kind of sit around. But if you have one hero that can snuck away, let's take Rhaegar maybe. It is the support though, so it's a bit dangerous, but he can do the easy camp by himself. Or Sylvanas, you can easily gank the top laner, right? So you can send one hero away very easily. Genji is actually the prime example for that on Braxis. He's not very useful in the 4-man, in the 4v4, but he's very mobile on the map, and he can pressure the offlane big time, and therefore creating like an imbalance on the map, so the opponents have to react. There's a couple of heroes that can do that. Falstad, actually Brightwing with a Z. Some of the like Genji, Tracer. But yeah.
So solo lane bullies and globals are better than you think, considering the small map size.
Exactly, yeah. But you have to play it well, right? Because if you draft a Genji and you're just gonna sit in the 4-man and you continuously brawl with him, you're not gonna get much value, right? Because you're not very useful in the 4v4. You won't get the resets, you won't get the takedowns.
You could still solo the boss at level 7.
You can do that, exactly. And Genji is actually, it's very unique on this map, because he brings basically everything you need on BoE. He brings a lot of mobility, so he can hop onto either of the points all the time to contest them or even cap them. And as you said, like, he has a insane, insane boss speed, actually. Like, if you get a takedown around level 10, you can usually translate it into a boss right away with a Genji pick.
Yeah.
So if you're a good Genji player, go ahead and play it on Braxis. It's pretty good.
but of course you have to take this talent that gives the deflect a reset. I'll show it. Yeah. You go to level 7 talent. You have to take perfect defense. You continually use deflect from Genji to proc from the very high attack speed of the boss, and then you have it again and again and again. You just Gatling gun throwing back kunais. So that's Genji, and that's parts of draft. You can either make a very strong 4-man with Morales and Zul'jin and Garrosh and stuff and Zarya, or you can have a mobile rotator.
Good sustain, I guess, is for the laning phase, right? Is maybe the tip that you want to have on Braxis. Like, you want to have good sustain, either on the support or maybe even on the carries that you play. Zul'jin can heal himself, Gul'dan can heal himself. There's like some heroes that work very well. Chromie, Junkrat actually, because in the 4v4 on bottom, there's this one bush where people walk into the objective. If you put a trap there, they will walk in. You can maybe get a kill out of it, and so on. So, like, these heroes work very well usually, yeah.
Can we have number 2 tip be, don't freaking take Ragnaros?
Yeah, so people have the misconception that Ragnaros is a very good pick on Braxis because you can Lava Wave or Rag D the opponent's Zerg Wave. But that also means that you lose it, right? Because you give them the Zerg Wave, because you usually lose the laning phase.
Finally someone else is saying it.
Yeah, so why not just win the laning phase instead, right? That works as well.
And how do you win the laning phase? Just pick Rexar?
Yeah, I mean, we come to that in a minute. It's very, I mean, Rexar is very good for sure, but there is a lot of off lanes that work, and honestly, I think on the very high level, whoever you ask, they're gonna give you like, yeah, I'm gonna win this lane, and then you ask the same matchup, someone else, you ask Dequaza, and then Dequaza says, yeah, I usually win that lane. Like,
someone's lying.
It's very skill dependent on a high level. And there's like little nuances that you can do. There's there's the globe generator, right, that you can pick up the globe here and there to get more HP. The way you play the lane to get like maximum value out of your 1v1. But if you are comfortable on Rexar, he is a very easy to play on Braxis hero. Like, you're gonna get good value on the offlane if you're comfortable playing him. There is other offlanes as well though that work, and it can be your Atanas. Like, he is fine in the raw 1v1, right? If there's no pesky Genji jumping over and killing you.
Yeah. So you have Rexar, and then there's all kinds of different matchups. Sometimes Artanis is fine, sometimes Sonya, sometimes
Dehaka can be fine. Yeah, Yrel. Exactly. I mean, I've even seen like sometimes Kira or Imperius on the offlane. It can work. It really depends on the matchup. And kind of like how the 4-man is as well, right? So you can have a slightly weaker offlaner if your team is actually sending someone to top to help you out. You might get a kill, you might be able to push out the lane there, and so on. So that depends a bit as well.
Okay, so hold your solo lane. Would you sooner take like an amazing dueler or an amazing Zerg clearer or wave clearer?
I think the dueling is probably more important on the offlane on Braxis, because the Zerg clear usually comes from your range carries, right, or your teammates. If you're the off, I mean, it helps if you have it, but hopefully if you lose the Zerg wave, they are sending the wave clear up, right? Your teammates. There's usually gonna be one mage maybe or someone that can help you out.
So you'll take a generalist solo lane that can always be kind of good. In my opinion, that's Rexar, Artanis, or Dehaka. They almost never get hard countered.
Yeah.
And then if you're more of a specialist picker, like a cool guy that takes heroes like Kira and Phoenix for the solo lane, then you should try to last pick the solo, so you see theirs first.
Yeah, that is correct. Yeah, and obviously like Malthael can work, Leoric can work, Blaze. you know, the standard off lanes, and some of them counter each other, so it's gonna be more beneficial to pick it after. But you can't do wrong with the Rexa first pick on Braxis, for example. It's totally fine. Like it's a good map for him.
My final tip suggestion is don't take the boss.
Yeah. Okay.
Just
Like
don't. You're gonna throw. You're ahead. Okay. How about this? Always first tap both beacons after you're ahead.
Yeah.
Like sometimes people are like, oh, we just wiped like 3 of them, and then you take the boss, and then maybe you're like 4 and they're like 2. You have 1 dead and they have 3 dead, and you take the boss, but you don't take the beacons, and then the defender takes the consolation prize of tapping top and bot beacon. So now you're in a 4 versus 2 where they get like 40% progress for free. You grab the boss. Now you start going to one of the beacons as 4. If you split 2-2, you have the risk of running 2 versus 2 on bot and 2 versus 2 on top. So you split and you go to one of the beacons as 4, you recapture it, but you still get 0%. They still have the top. You go with the 4 to the top. By now, they're already defending the boss. Everyone respawns. Everyone comes back. You've got 0%. They've got 40. Boss did almost nothing because it's rather weak. And now eventually they end up winning the Zerg wave. To that I say, always first double tap the beacons and just forget about the boss.
Yeah. I mean, you are right in the sense that if you start tapping the percentages, it's guaranteed value, right? Once you cap both, you're gonna get the percentages going, and the boss not necessarily is gonna give that. And you are right that you can also throw on the boss, right? You might die.
Yeah.
They come. So yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah, I think that is true.
Would you say always first double tap the beacons, or would you say don't effing take the boss?
Yeah. I mean, if you have like Genji, right, then you can do both.
Let's well, yeah, but let's assume like you're just normal team. You're a normal team. You're like 1 or 2 people up, and you're like.
You should probably ignore the boss. Just ignore the boss in that moment. Do the hard camp if you want, or the easy camp, right? Cap the objectives, get to the Moonwell, and then you do one of your camps, something like that. I think it's usually the better play, especially if you're slightly ahead. Because you might be throwing your lead otherwise. It is dangerous. Like the boss is in the middle of the map and it actually deals quite some damage while doing it. People sometimes underestimate how strong the boss is. And it is pretty easy for, like, even if the opponents are respawning, they can run there and fight with you.
Yes.
So yeah, you gotta be careful of that.
Okay, cool. That's Braxis. Let's go to the next. We have Cursed Hollow.
Ooh, Cursed Hollow, yeah. Very old school map.
Weak objective.
Weak objective. I agree, yeah, I agree. You need 3 tributes, right, before you get anything out of it. And we've all been in games where you actually curse the opponents, but you're a level behind in soak afterwards, right? So it can go very wrong, even if you curse the opponents.
Yes.
In my opinion, and like for high level play, I think curse is pretty hard to play, to make the right decisions all the time. Not only is there 3 tributes that you need to cap before you get anything out of it, but there's 2 bosses, which on this map they are legit win conditions, and you know, easy camp and a bruiser camp. And you can tank the opponent's curse if you have your own bruiser camp and easy camp, for example, just capped right before. So there's a lot of small things on the map that can matter. In Storm League, it's a bit hard. And actually, for me, the map is hard to play overall. Like I feel like there's a lot of things you can do. I think what is important on Cursed is to have a hero that can stall the objective very easily, like the channeling process. And there's a bunch of heroes that can do that, and you will usually end up with 1 or 2 anyways. I don't know, like Brightwing with the Q, the magic spit or whatever it's called. You have Junkrat with his Q. You can put a mine on the actual objective. There is Hanzo, Scatter, Q, and Sonic Arrow. Like all 3 pretty long range. If you're good at it, you're gonna hit it.
But do you think this works in Storm League to go for like a stalling technique?
I think it's still good, yeah. Even if it's not the general plan, I think it's good to buy to stall it a bit, yeah. I think generally it's good if you can, but you might be unlucky and your team keeps chain feeding for it as well. But yeah. I think in general it's good if you can, but yeah, it requires your team obviously to understand as well what's going on, because sometimes you won't be able to contest it. And then stalling is just buying you extra time to get to level 10, for example. And then on level 10, you can actually start fighting. So yeah, in my opinion, it's good to have a hero that can stall. Oftentimes, these heroes, they also help around the boss. Because, I don't know, let's take Junkrat or Hanzo. They're gonna provide vision and space, basically, around the boss. So it's a bit easier to do. They're both fine in team fights. I think a tank like Muradin or Anub, actually Diablo is very good on them. I think there's a lot of good tanks on Curse, so you're very flexible there. Tyrael is very good, yeah.
Let me also ask for a theoretical situation. Let's say you are the Dahaka, the Falstad, or a Malthael on the off lane. You have a chance to push down 2 towers and maybe even get some fort damage. First tribute. It's Storm League, your solo queue. You're on the side lane. You ask your team, don't go for the bottom tribute. We've got positive map pressure. It's only 1 tribute. It's not a curse yet. It's a low value objective to begin with, and this is 1/3 of it. If we can get towers now, it's an XP advantage. Fort. Anyway, you don't have time to discuss all that, but you've got to make a choice. But you've got the spider senses that your team is going to chain feed. Do you take down 2 towers, maybe even the fort? Let's say even your Sergeant Hammer, right? To make it even more certain. You can take down a fort and have an angry team of 4 feeders that lose 4v5 for a meaningless tribute. What do you do? Do you join? Or do you stay and kill the fort?
So if you're the global, like the Haka or Falstad or Sergeant Hammer in that case, I think you stay to kill the wall, actually. Because if your team dies, you at least equalize the experience, right? Because if you join and you still lose the team fight, then it's actually an absolute disaster. Then you can't do anything anymore from that position. If you're Malthael, it's a bit different, right? Because siege damage is very low from you. Yes. So you should probably rotate from top to mid and clear the mid wave, and then you should go top again, actually, instead of joining the brawl. And I mean, hopefully your teammates are not super tilted if they run it down during that time. But that brings me back to, if you have one hero that can stall, that usually works very well with exactly what you just described, right? Because he's gonna buy you some time. You're gonna get some push on the other side. I think, for example, I think the Haka is a little bit easier to join the cross-map fights than, for example, Falster, because he has a certain range to fly, and usually he's a bit weaker in the 5v5 than the Dahaka. So maybe as the Dahaka you can make the decision to burrow in if you see a good opportunity. But yeah, I think on Cursed Hollow, the first objective, people, you can calm down, you can relax a bit about. The first tribute is not gonna be a big game changer.
Okay. And of course, it's always hard to know the exact value of not tilting your teammates, because different people react different emotionally. So if you knew they were going to be that tilted, you would have joined, even though
you
it was
should have
bad.
joined. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
But you didn't know.
You didn't know, exactly. There's one thing about the camps on Cursed Hollow, right? We have a hard camp and the easy camp. If the tribute is on bottom side, so on the south of the map, you are the team on the left, so your easy camp is pushing top. If you
so
can,
you're
you
left, you have a top siege camp, tribute is in the bottom.
Yeah, exactly. So you wanna cap the easy camp while the tribute is spawning, right? So, and it's the basic principle again. You wanna provide an extra threat on the map while the opponents have to do something. So the tribute is spawning, your easy camp is pushing top lane. It's actually cross map, so it's kind of hard to deal with. And yeah, instead of like capping it at minute 1, right? Because that's when it spawns, and sometimes people would do that.
But right side caps at minute 1 and tries to use the bruiser as the distraction, right?
Exactly. That's what it comes down to. Yeah, exactly. And it's actually good to have a hero that can do the bruiser, like a Rhaegar, a Maiev, Greymane. These heroes work. Honestly, you can just do it with 2 heroes together, so you don't need like it's not really a draft tip. I think you can just do it together. Like support plus 1 range carry usually will do the trick. Yeah, because I mean it's good to have the camps out on the map, right? They're gonna help you.
Then globals are of course good. Good draft. So we have an interrupter, globals, and boss control tanks and heroes.
Yeah, I think globals are good if you're comfortable playing it, right? If you don't feel that good about using the globals or like understanding what you're supposed to do, then you can just pick like any kind of off lane and like double rotate or like you know, clear the wave, go to mid, and then clear the mid wave, and then maybe if your team was doing very well stalling the tribute, you might be still able to join there. Like it's better to play a hero that you feel good on, I think. But generally speaking, I think globals are pretty decent on Cursed. If you have two, it gets very interesting as well, right? Because the map is pretty big and there's a lot of things to do. Two bosses, the tribute, there's the camps, the pressure that you get with it. So if you have a Dehaka and a Brightwing, for example, it opens up more possibilities. But I don't think it's necessarily required to have one. It's good to have, though.
Then we remove it, because it may be even better. I think I agree with you. It may be even better just to have like a stupid pusher hero.
Yeah, that is also good, yeah.
I would say it's probably statistically a higher win chance to take like a stupid pusher, like Hammer, Zagara, Azmodan, or a Greymane.
Yeah. I would think so, yeah. I would think that in Storm League that's probably a higher win rate, yeah. You just kill a fort almost while they kept one tribute, yeah. It's usually a good deal. But you don't want to be like super stubborn about that either, right?
Really?
So it can be the right play, but you gotta feel it out, right? It's something you will learn. Like you play it a few times and then you get more experience with it, and you will see when it's the right time to help your team, and sometimes you let the tribute go.
Way early when the game began and when Cursed Hollow was new, there was this tip that many people still remember: never to take boss during the curse. The curse is active. The most important thing is to have one hero per lane to pick up all the free XP from the 1 HP minions. Maybe you split 1-3-1 so you can pick up all the XP. Your 3-man tries to push. However, any one of the 1-3-1 that meets superior enemy hero resistance leaves and relocates to other places. So that was like the way to play it back then. You mobily redistribute yourself to avoid direct confrontation while applying pressure only where you have superior numbers, and you pick up all the XP. Taking the boss during curse was the noob thing to do. I feel like it has flipped since then, where curse can be good sometimes, and this is one of the only objectives that can actually be bad because of XP loss.
Yeah.
But now curse is used far more often as the cover of darkness, which you utilize to take the boss, because the boss is the major win condition.
Yes and no. I think what you described, you can still play it like that, like to catch as much experience as possible. I think it's important to... You can't do the boss as 5, I think. You shouldn't do that. There should be one hero that catches at least one of the lanes of Soak. Ideally, I think you want to catch 2 lanes of Soak, and then you can push like one of the forts down. But as you said, the opponents, if they group up as 5, they can still fight back, right? They are not weaker than you. Just because the fort is not shooting, they're gonna win the 5v4 in mid, for example, if you show up there. Especially if they, I don't know, they have a Anubarak, they're gonna cocoon one, then it's a 5v3 even in mid. Like, you have no business there, right? So you gotta respect that. But it is important to get some of the Soak. But I would agree, like, it's not totally wrong to do the boss during it either, because I personally think towards the end of the curse is a good time to run to the boss and do it. Because then the opponent, like, you pushed out the lanes, you got some of the Soak, and at the end of the curse, all the minions gonna pile up at the opponent's base, and they kind of have to soak it, right? And because the towers are not shooting yet, it's gonna take them a little bit, depending on what hero they play, because they need to clear it manually, right? Some heroes, obviously, they have a lot of AoE, they're gonna do it fast, but others, they will take a while. And if you then start the boss, I don't know, like 10-15 seconds remaining of the curse, you're usually gonna get it for free, and then you can make the decision to either push with the boss or maybe play for the other one as well. So I think you're right. It's definitely not wrong per se, because the boss is a very good win condition on Cursed Hollow.
Okay. Then I think we have our 3 tips. Match the Siege and the Bruiser camps. Good draft, interrupters, dumb pushers. And of course there's more, but we have to keep it to 3 kind of concisely written tips. Bosses are good win conditions, and you do take them near the end of curse. And of course you also said, like, try to have at least 1 or 2 people clearing most of the waves that you're benefiting from of the enemy 1 HP minions during the curse.
Yes, yeah.
these are the tips that I'll write down for that. As for the losing team, the one that has their own forts cursed by the opponent, what's the best way to defend against like a curse?
Yeah, that's interesting, right? I think it's very draft dependent and on like specifically like what kind of situation you have. If you are cursed and you have 2 globals on each side lane, and it comes down to the opponents actually pushing mid, I think it's often good to global in and fight them in mid, kill them, because if you get a kill, you usually negate all the curse damage and you might get out ahead of it. But sometimes you don't have the tools, right? And then it's more like try to stop the bleeding. And in Storm League it's very hard, right? But if you see you're gonna get cursed, they're gonna get the 3rd tribute, and you're not really in the position to fight for it, just do your bruiser camp, do your easy camp if you can. Hopefully none of your teammates is running it down wild, right? And that's why I say it's hard in Storm League, but the bruiser camp and the easy camp, they can actually soften up the curse quite a bit. Like they're gonna make it easier for you to defend the lanes. They're gonna stop the bleeding, try to catch the soak that you can, and because we go back to the bosses, right? Because the one that gets the curse, they are more likely to get the boss out of it as well, because they have the prio. If you can do it, you want to do your boss as well as the team that gets cursed, right? So, and that brings me back to a global again. It's a lot easier if you have one global hero, because then the others can start the boss. You're the one catching the opposing lane, and then maybe globaling in if needed. So yeah. I guess like mostly try to stop the bleeding, right? You just try to cut the losses as much as you can when you're cursed.
Makes a lot of sense. And, you know, when I hear some of the tips that you've given and some of the importances and emphasis, if I were to choose a couple of heroes for me to pick on Cursed Hollow that would fulfill all of those conditions, it would be like Greymane, Zagara, Hager, or Rhaegar. I think those would be top picks. Because sometimes you'll take another hero that can do some of those things, but not all. For instance, you could be Chromie in order to get interrupts, but now you can't solo the Bruiser camp. But with Rhaegar and Hogger, you can. And so and they can still take bosses as well. They can help with bosses. Same with Zagara. Zagara can solo the Bruise camp. So if you're like a Zagara and you're like, the opponent is going to get the curse, you can defend. You can do side lane pushes. She is a good stupid pusher. She can do like Bruiser camp. She does pretty good on the boss. Devouring Maul has boss control. So I think I'm only going to take Zagara on Cursed Hollow from now on and test the theory.
You can do that, but and you're right, but you have to understand, right? If you play a lot of Zagara, you know that like Genji is a big threat, and there's some heroes that counter you pretty hard. So if you already see one on the other side, you might not pick the Zagara, right? Even though she would be good on the map, you might pick something that is a little bit more sturdy. Can be a Greymane. Greymane is usually a bit weaker in 5v5 fights as well, but you can make up in other departments. So yeah, I agree actually. What you said is true, yeah.
Yeah, I think Greymane is best when he faces 0 resistance.
No, like only PvE. Yeah.
Well, yeah, like when basically like he's part of a cursed bullet blow up composition, right? And he has like 2 seconds in a fight, and that's it. Like he doesn't have to trade blows constantly where he takes damage and deals damage, or like you said, PvE, just PvE pushing. That's where he shines. And where there's so much distraction that he can do anything he wants. Because like it feels like every time I take Greymane, where there are active trades, me against the Vala, we're both hurting each other, it always sucks. For me at least, Greymane.
Especially early game, and actually Greymane is maybe a very good hero to take as an example. Early game, if you're like the tribute spawns bottom, you're Greymane on top lane, you might actually just keep pushing. Like he's fantastic at taking down their wall and maybe even the fort, especially if there's no hero to match you. Obviously, if there is someone, you have to see if you, I don't know, win the 1v1 or not. Yeah. But yeah, he's a hero that excels very quickly if left alone at the opponent's structures. Like it's one of the best actually for it.
Okay, I'll take Zagara or Greymane. Cool. Moving on, Dragonshire.
Dragonshire, yeah. Again, like a very old map, but very unique in a sense as well. To get the objective, you need to win 3 lanes, right? You need to channel both top and bottom, and then cap the dragon in mid. It's actually pretty hard to do. I think on Dragonshire, it's very good to have like one strong off lane. So let's say we talked about Rexar before, very similar as on Braxis, right? You can control the lane and the point at the same time. Oh yeah.
Yep.
And on bottom, it's a bit similar, right? You have usually like an anchor point on the map, on the objective itself. Could be a range carry like a Chromie, Hanzo, Lunara. They're rather safe. They have vision. They can control the point, poking the opponent if they walk in. And you want to have good wave clear on Dragonshire, because if you clear out mid first, it's very easy to rotate to bottom or top, and that's usually how you get an advantage on the map, right? On the flip side, you also want, and it brings us back to basically the principles. You want to have a hero that can do the hard camp very easily. Could be your Hogger, could be a Rhaegar, could be two heroes together, like range carry plus support. And then, let's say you are Sylvanas, right? And you have, I don't know, Stukov with you as a support. You do the hard camp at minute 1, and then you push top lane, actually. You try to get the opponent's wall.
S3?
Yeah, exactly. Your offlaner is gonna be there, and then the Sylph and the Stukov. And you have your bottom anchor, which would be, I don't know, like a Chromie or a Hanzo. In that case, they are usually pretty safe by themselves. They can, you know, just clear the wave. They don't need to fight, because if you have 3 heroes on top, you're gonna get the top shrine, right? You don't need to channel all 3 at the same time. Like, that's not what it is about, right? So you get the small lead, and then you try to rotate away from there. I have to say that Dragonshire, I think, individually playing, you need pretty good decision making all the time, right? Because it's a very rotation heavy map.
Yes.
Because you need to win all 3 lanes, right? So there's a lot of very small things that each hero can do, and that would be beneficial, but it's almost impossible to break that down. It's like a feeling thing, right? Like, now I should do the camp, now I should rotate to mid. Now I should actually stand on the point, because we are capping mid at the same time. So if I stand here for 3 more seconds, we actually get the objective. Like, these things that's just something you will pick up if you play the map a lot, I think.
It's a complex map, I agree. And I did make a more extensive guide for the map, ! Dragonshire, in my Twitch chat. But if you are a solo queuer and you can't like dictate the whole draft, what would be like your best hero pick for the map that you say, hey, I can get a lot of value out of this because I can rotate and kill the solo laner. I can clear bot by myself against 2 to 3 pushers, and I clear the wave and make sure my towers are more safe.
I think Sylvanas is pretty good on Dragonshire, by the way. I think having a good offlane is very good, like a Rexa, a Hogger, maybe the Haka. They work very well, because they can also start the hard camp, or maybe even do it by themselves, like Hogger can do that. It's very beneficial. I think having a tank that can jump, so like Muradin, Anubarak, they're usually pretty good, because if you gank one of the side lanes, top or bottom, it's a lot more threatening if you can jump over the obstacle, right? Into the shrine, or even over the tree line to gank one of the squishies that might be there. So I think that is pretty important. Yeah, and one big thing about Dragonshire, it's very rotational heavy, right? So if you have vision for the triangle bush, it's usually pretty good. And it could be a Lunara Wisp, can be a Hanzo Sonic Arrow. It can also be just your main tank holding that position, right? So you know it's safe, and it's something where you can rotate away from.
Vision, okay.
Vision, yeah.
Would you take like Rexar with Flare?
Yeah, you can actually. Yeah, you can have Hogger top lane and Rexar on bottom. Yeah, that actually is totally fine. Yeah.
And then the objective strength?
Not all too strong, right? I would say. I feel like, I don't know if it got nerfed over the time, but I feel like it's very hard to end on Dragonshire with the Dragon Knight lately.
Yeah, you don't end until level 22, 23, 24 usually.
Yeah. I don't know what happened. I feel like the dragon is rather weak.
And then when you combine it with like the complexity of getting it, that you need to control 3 points, that makes it, in theory, even weaker.
It's a pretty low score, yeah, I think so. Like, if you have to score it, it's pretty low. I would advise to people, so if you get the Dragon Knight right, try to take down walls first. Bot lane is usually pretty good to kill the fort, but it's also very good to kill the top fort. People underestimate how good it is to kill the top lane's fort, because there's no point to retreat to anymore for the opponent's off lane. So once the map is opened up around top lane, you usually will get the top shrine for free every time from that point on. Because if you still have a fort, your minion's gonna push it out, you have more vision, you have your gate to run back to, right? While the opponent is completely naked on top lane. So if you have the choice, it's usually always better to kill either bottom or top instead of mid, from my experience, because it opened the map, opens it up more, which is very important on Dragon Shire.
So what I'm hearing a lot here is actually strong, safe offlane is good, and taking the bruiser is good, but actually what I keep hearing is help your solo lane a lot, because that kills the fort, that gets you the top shrine, which means you'll never lose DK, which maybe you'll get DK. It allows you to gank top lane, so top fort is good, top keep not as much, but top fort and helping your solo lane super valuable. So any hero that can do that.
Yeah, actually that kind of sums it up. Yeah, I think that's that's kind of how you want to play Dragon Shire. Also, especially if you're the proactive team, you took the hard camp early or earlier than your opponents, you start pushing top. If they are slow at reacting, you actually get a lot of value. You're gonna kill the wall, maybe get some fort damage. It's very valuable. Like it creates like a little bit of imbalance on the map, and then you know, you can snowball from that.
Number 2, vision for triangle. Via tank or vision tools.
Yeah.
And 3, anchor hero for bot.
For bot lane. Yeah. And
traps.
That is usually a range carry, but I mean, sometimes in Storm League you will see people like laning as 3 on bottom. You can do that. I think it's not ideal though, because exactly what I mentioned, like the opponents, if they take the hard and push top, they're usually gonna get more value than 3 heroes on bottom starting to push. There is a hard camp on bottom as well. So, I mean, if you planned it out, you can go that road, but if you cap it and it starts hitting the wall, it's a little bit awkward, right? Because it's only like on the one tower, and it
doesn't feel as strong as top bruiser.
Exactly, because it's not in the middle of the lane, so you don't really benefit from the spell armor as much, and the minions are not directly in with the hard camp,
you're not helping
right?
the minion wave push up either.
Exactly, yeah. So. Yeah, that's basically the reason, yeah. But you can do it, of course, right? If you can sneak it with a Rhaegar, for example, early on, it's totally fine.
Okay, cool. That's Dragon Shire. It's far more complex than 3 tips could cover it, but that's the concept for the day. And I have the more extensive guide if you guys want to see. Garden of Terror.
Garden of Terror.
In short, in really short, how strong is the objective?
I'm very bad at rating these, by the way, but it's fine, right? I think it's fine. It's not the strongest, it's not the weakest.
6 out of 10 objective strength.
Let's put a 6, yeah. It's a very PvE-heavy map. There's a lot of camps to take. We all know that. If you capped one, you walk to the other side of a map, there's one respawning or something to depush. So heroes that do camps very well are very good on Garden. And you know, it brings us back to the heroes we already talked about. But having 1, maybe even 2, is very good. And then the same principle in terms of like stalling the objective can be very good on Garden of Terror. The map layout though, for example, if you are the right team and the first tribute spawns bottom right, like close to the easy camp down there, right?
Yeah.
It's very hard for the opponents to steal that, by the way.
Yes.
So usually you shouldn't try to steal it. Like you can maybe stall it a bit, but you shouldn't really try to run in there and try to cap it away, because it's between 2 forts. They can stall you from basically every angle, and it makes it very unpleasant to even try, because the aspect of channeling, you're gonna lose HP, you're occupied by clicking. Like it usually doesn't work out unless you got some kills already. So that's something to keep in mind. When it's in the center positions, like the middle ones, that's the ones you want to fight for. If they are on your side, that's the ones you want to win. So you don't give it up for free either, right? So if they come, you actually take the fight.
So stalling can be good, but when I think of Garden of Terror, I'm thinking on this map, 2 solo laners are required.
Triple, very good wave clear, very good PvE. Can be triple melee. Yeah, I agree. Actually, that's usually very good on the map. Yeah.
2 solo laners rather than 1. Like I'd be very happy if I had a Blaze and a Hager, and then I have a Vala and a healer and a tank. Like I'd be totally fine with that, because now I know we're gonna be taking camps.
Exactly. Yeah, that sounds pretty strong. Yeah, you can do that. Yeah. Can be also, like Sylvanas, once again, very strong on that map as well, I think. I mean, in general, she fits into a lot of drafts for the same reason, but Garden is one of them. There's one small thing on Garden that you can do. So if the opponent takes the hard camp, you can do your own easy in that lane, right? So let's say you're on the left side, they push with a hard camp on top, then you take the top left easy camp, and it's gonna help you depushing the hard camp. It's actually pretty important to do it, and yeah.
Spam
if you
camps.
can, you should do it. Spam the camp. Yeah, exactly. Spam the camps. Yeah, and try to get them out. Yeah, it's very important on Garden because there's so many, right?
Timings are nice, tactical timings, in order to create distractions for taking the seat sometimes. But in Storm League, generally, you'd rather spam the camps than to neglect them.
Yeah, exactly. Rather have it than not. Yes. Yeah.
Objective is slow to get, not so strong. And then I would say number 3 is like there's so much going on. There's so many hobbies. So like we're talking in like 6 camps on the map that refresh relatively often. You've got 6 seed locations. You need 3 in order to get the objective. It might be 5 until someone gets the objective if you split them 2 for 2. And once the objective comes out, it's 5, 6 out of 10 strength. When you're pushing with the objective, generally you would want to split 1-3-1.
Yeah.
And when you're defending, generally you also want to kind of defend 1-3-1.
1-3-1.
Because you'll take so much damage. All you got to do is take down that pod that disables your buildings, and then you're already removing much of the value. So the third tip for me would be split during the objective 1-3-1, both as attacker and defender.
Yeah, try to match the opponents. And I think level 20s are pretty good on this map, right? Because it usually gets late game. That's at least my experience on Garden. It's almost impossible to end with the first seed, even if you get all 3, right? And then you will need a second wave of terror. So level 20s, it usually gets into late game. So that can be helpful if you think about that as well.
That's a great tip. I'm going to include it as one. That's our 3 tips for Garden of Terror. Sick. Let's go on to Hanamura.
Hanamura, exactly. What comes to mind? The samurai, right? We gotta spam the samurai.
Yeah.
And you usually do it together. It's like a team effort. You send 2, maybe 3 heroes. Sometimes all 4 are gonna go there. I think that is the most important part about the map. I think having, once again, as so often, having a good off lane. The lane is pretty long on Hanamura, so it gets played a little bit differently as the off lane. But yeah, try to stay alive, right? Don't overreach, I think, on the lane. It's very easy to get ganked on Hanamura as the off lane, and if you die, it's usually pretty bad.
Yes.
And if
I would say early game is important rather than late game.
Yes, I think so. Yeah. And if you are the team that spawns on the left side, and the opponents are sending the samurai top, right? If your offlane is weaker, help him. Like, he's gonna lose the whole fort otherwise. Like, you gotta assist him. Like, it's actually very important. So keep that in mind. That if your offlane has bad wave clear or is already losing the matchup, you have to assist him defending the samurai. Treat it as a boss, actually. That's how you should see it.
Yep. Objective is like a 2 out of 10.
Yeah, it's very weak. Yeah, 2 out of 10. Yeah.
So Samurai's the real objective. Always spam cap it. Always defend the opponent's sentinel, and not just with one, but with multiple.
Yes.
I have found that it's better to forward defend the sentinel and leverage one hero if you safely can to pick up XP from the sentinel to support it. But that's much better than pushing as 4 with the sentinel against 4 defenders while leaving your solo to defend the sentinel who is defending against the sentinel and 1 pusher.
That is, yeah, that's actually completely correct, yeah. And so that brings us back to the 2-lane map. Like, people are 4 bottom for no real reason, right?
Yeah.
So the right side is defending the sentinel as 4, while your top laner is left alone if you don't assist him.
Yeah,
so,
I bet that if you, considering the meta is always 4 bots on most maps, I would bet if you look at win rates, that right side wins more often, simply because their 4-man is driven to do the right thing.
Yeah, that's probably true, yeah.
I hope it's true, because we both feel this is true. I hope
that's how it feels. Yeah, that's how it feels. Yeah. And besides that, I mean, I don't think there's really like key components to Hanamura. I think there's one thing.
Let me ask this: mobility. Like, so, you know that feeling where you're deep in the opponent's sentinel, or you're pushing or whatever, and the map opens up, and it just feels like an insane distance from one base to the next. You can't get away. I used to think Lucio is really good here, and maybe he still is, but there aren't that many walls for him to use sometimes.
exactly. Yeah.
So do you feel like mobility is like super, 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 super important? I feel like it is.
No, I don't think. I actually don't think so.
No?
I think like I mean, mobility is good, but I think it's not the highest. I mean, you could always get away with Genji, right? You can pick him on any map, and I think he's fine on Hanamura as well. But
I'm thinking like
coming.
movement speed givers, like Tyrael.
Ah, yeah, Tura. Okay, yeah. Actually, yeah, that is true. I think Lucio is like a fringe case because you mentioned it. There's not that many walls, and that's by the way why Hanzo and Diablo are worse on the map. Like that's something to keep in mind.
Yes.
It's one of the few maps where they are weaker.
Horror
But
too.
I guess that is true. Actually, you're right that Tyrael movement speed can help. There's some others, and I think oftentimes you're gonna have these clashes at the objective. So I think having strong team fights can be good at Hanamura. Actually, strong early game, strong level 10s, so you're able to team fight.
So you're thinking double support and stuns.
Yeah, that actually should do the trick on Hanamura oftentimes. Yeah, actually that is a pretty strong draft if you get away with it. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Let's not spend any longer on Hanamura. Infernal Shrines.
So Infernal Shrines, the objective, like you have to kill the skeletons, right? The little minions. There are some heroes that do that very well. The first that comes to mind is Lorek, for example. He has a AoE auto attack, and then his Q is gonna finish them off. You get like 10 skulls per rotation of spells or per Q. Hanzo Q is very good for that. There's some other range carries that are very good at stealing the skulls. So that is very important. Like big AoE on the shrine to have a win condition on the shrine, right? So you are the team that can get the skulls and then therefore win the Punisher. That's pretty important to have at least one of these heroes. I think it can be pretty teamfight heavy because people often tend to just group on the shrine. They want to win it, even though the objective can be defended rather easily. But I'd say the frozen one is a very strong one, right? I would rate that pretty high. If you get the frozen Punisher, you can push with it very easily because it turns down towers and fort. So that would be like I don't know, like an 8 or something. The other ones are a little bit weaker, but they are also still pretty good, right? Because people make mistakes, they get stunned, and then it starts slapping them. So winning it is usually good. Drafting to win it is good as well. So having like good AoE on the shrine is very important on the map.
So we draft for team fight and objective over macro split pressure, usually.
Yes, usually. I think for Storm League purposes that is true.
Yes.
Split pressure can be good, but it's pretty advanced, and in Storm League usually you want to win the shrines.
Yes.
Zone control, like a Stukov puddle or a Junkrat mine, can be very good on the shrines. Johanna to pull the skulls together, but actually, because we just talked about Diablo being a bit weaker on Hanamura, on shrines he actually is quite a bit stronger, because fighting in the objective, you have basically walls all around you. You can charge in, get the walls done. Lightning Breath, Apok, both ults are very good on the shrine. So that's something to keep in mind.
Would you focus on single target damage in order to defend the Punisher?
I don't think you really draft for that. No,
yes.
I mean, yeah, I don't think you really draft for that. You want to pull the Punisher over right behind the wall, and then you start hitting it. But I don't think you really draft Q-Build Vala, for example, to have like big PvE damage for that.
This could be one of the tips. Always make sure to pull the Punisher over the wall, and don't stay for more than 5 seconds after the enemy wins the objective, or it'll start stomping you.
That is correct, yeah. Be very mindful of the Punisher stun. Yeah, you don't want to proc it in front of your gate, you want to proc it behind. Ideally only with one guy. Sometimes several people are standing on the same pixel, they all want to get stunned. But yeah, you only... Yeah. In terms of camps, I think the hard camp for the first objective, you know, when the shrine announcer comes, or you have the 20-second timer or whatever it is, you want to send out the hard camp, and it goes back to the same idea. You want to have a threat on the map that they have to deal with, so you can play for the objective. So instead of like brawling all the time around minute 2, get on your mount and walk to the hard camp. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be beneficial for your team.
I'll try that once. Cool. We got those. Sky Temple.
Sky Temple. A very I think pretty complex map actually, because this is the map where the objective directly kills your structures and eventually your core. You know, if you start channeling enough in the late game. I think being strong in the 1v1 while splitting is very important on Sky Temple. So have a good off lane, but maybe also a hero like honestly Genji I think works pretty well once the map is a bit more open, because you're pretty strong in the 1v1, you create quite some space, you're very mobile. Actually mobility I think on Sky Temple is, for example, rather important, because sometimes you want to channel the objective and then get out. Like you get like half of the shots and then you get out without dying. So I think these kind of heroes works pretty well. Globals, for example, they can do that. The Haka, Falstad, Brightwing, they are capable of doing that. I think the boss is a good win condition on Sky Temple. If you are a team that doesn't have these kind of global tools, you can take the boss and push with it as all 5. So keep that in mind. If you're behind in macro on Sky Temple, it's very hard to come back because the opponents might not give you a fight. So if you're the team that is behind, you can force the boss. It doesn't feel, maybe it doesn't feel that good, but it's one of the best odds you're gonna get. Because if the opponents show up, you get a team fight out of it. If they don't show up, you can push with the boss. And sometimes they make mistakes, right? They die while defending, and then you can actually end the game, even though you're the team that is pretty far behind. So
that's a nice comeback mechanic.
Exactly, yeah. Something to keep in mind as a comeback mechanic. And also vice versa for the team that is ahead, and you said it on Braxis, probably ignore the boss, unless it's like kind of free, like 3 heroes are down or something, right? But usually I think you should kind of ignore it, because it is a throw pit on Sky Temple, especially if you're the team that is ahead. A simple rule is to play vision if you are ahead. Just play for vision and wait for the shrines to spawn. If it's multiple shrines, it's usually kind of easy to play out. Like you start capping, you see the opponent's movement, and you try to play around it. The other option is, if that feels too hard, you just draft for 5v5s, right? You show up on the shrine together and you just team fight them. If you have the better team fight, then you get the shrine afterwards, right?
Yeah, I've gone back and forth about what's more important, wave clear or team fight. But let me ask you like this: how many heroes with amazing wave clear should a team draft at minimum on Sky?
I think 2.
Really? I usually say 4.
4 even, yeah. I think, I mean, yeah, I mean, actually,
someone's gonna die.
The more, the better.
Someone's gonna die. Someone that should be doing it is focusing on PvP stacks, and you need 3. So I feel like with 4 it's safe. With 2 you're just gonna get pushed to some noob Asmodan that's so gankable, but like no one is doing it because there's waves everywhere that aren't being cleared. And
I mean, kind of, yes. And yeah, ideally, I think, yeah, I mean, probably, maybe the around, yeah, 2 to 3 is what I would have said, but yeah, maybe 4 to have one the safety net, right? Because you are right that, and that we talked about it on Cursed already, like pushing down one lane with some heroes can be very strong, and on Sky Temple it's even more, like it feels even worse to play against it actually.
I'll say 3 to 4.
Okay, yep.
And then let's see. So we've got mobility. Do you think you should draft for the boss control at all? So boss control, to make it simple, are tools that excel at both teams trying to force cap the capture point after the boss has been killed. So Tyrael Holy Ground, Tyrael Sanctification, Hugger's Hogwild, Stukov's Puddle. These are all some of the tools that can really excel on the point. Also like piling lots of AoE damage on the point, Horrified, Zagaramal. Should you draft with one or many of these heroes in mind when you go for Sky, thinking this game may be decided on the boss?
I think if you happen to be on one of these heroes, it's totally fine, but I don't think you necessarily force them, right? So if you happen to be on Falstad, if you drafted Falstad, it's fine, you have Gust. If you're on Tyrael, as you said, you can go into Holy Ground, but I don't think you only draft them for that purpose. I think if you happen to be on one, you should be wary. Like, yeah, boss fights can be good for us because we can get it maybe for free, right? But yeah, that's I don't think you force it in the draft, no.
My final tip will be then objective is very strong, since it basically wins you the game. Try to always show up for it in strength, and then distract with simultaneous camps.
Yes. there's like one thing I want to touch, like very late game, right? If you're the team that is ahead, so you have structures left and the opponents only have a core left and there's 2 shrines about to spawn, you should start channeling or try to start channeling both shrines at the same time while the others run at the core and just kill it. It's very quick.
Yes.
Like it's almost checkmate for the opponents if you do it right. You don't even need the perfect heroes for it. Obviously, if you have a Greymane or Rhaegar, they are very good at pushing core or Sonya. But even others will do it. It's like the shrine in late game, it deals so much damage to the core if you channel it for a few seconds. And if the opponents are behind, they are pushed in on all lanes, they have little vision. They need to do the perfect split, like to match the heroes on the objective and defend at home, right? Which is, it's near impossible actually. So instead of just 5v5 fighting and maybe losing it and then losing the game, you should keep that in mind. Like maybe just go for it. Like go for the core while your 2 of your teammates are channeling.
Big agree on that. Yeah. Always want to split when you're ahead, and when you're behind,
Yes.
you have to go for those stupid plays, like trying to cap the balls, take a random fight.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Where did I? This one. Okay, cool. That's Sky Temple. Let's go to the next. We've got 3 maps left. Tomb of the Spider Queen.
Tomb of the Spider Queen. Wave clear. It's all about wave clear. We get the objective by clearing waves, right? Because we pick up the gems. We actually defend the objective by clearing waves, because you know, you need wave clear when the web weavers arrive at your base. And yeah, wave clear is super important. So first pick Johanna, totally viable on this map. I mean, Johanna is strong in general, but Tomb is one of her best maps. Some of the mages, Jaina, Gul'dan, Keltas, they have good wave clear. They can help big time. Junkrat is actually fantastic on this map. I mean, we talk about him many times. He's good overall, but Tomb is a very good map for him. And some of the heroes I just named, they also bring you to the second point, which is the control over the payment area and stalling it, right? So if you see someone trying to put in his 20 gems, if you stall him, you buy a lot of time by doing that, right? It's very annoying for the opponents, especially if you're a hero that is rather long range. They can't really stop you from doing that. So like, wave clear is the highest priority, I think, on Tomb to draft. And then it's like a mix between like vision and stalling, right? Which is like a principle for a lot of maps, but I think on Tomb it's something you feel like if you play against it and you don't have it, it feels very bad, like trying to get the gems in while you constantly get stalled, and then they stall you while taking the easy camp, for example. So then you have to do even, you know, it's like an uphill battle if you don't have any tools like that.
Yes. And if I had to ask you to choose between early game heroes and snowballing or late game heroes and scalers, do you find this map ends quickly or slowly?
I think it usually goes late game, right?
Yes.
But it can end quickly, but it usually goes late game. I would say if you have enough wave clear, even if you lose the first 2 payments or something, you're still in the game. I mean, just don't lose all your gems, right? If you're the one carrying 40 of them, try not to die. You're super valuable to your team. Like,
don't throw early, of course, and don't have like a full team of scalers, everyone that needs their level 1 quest in order to be useful at all. Don't go Azmodan and Kael'thas and Alterac together, where you won't get the kills and you don't have enough strength. You'll just lose the game early. But generally, we're experiencing that the game goes late.
Late game, yeah.
A couple of scalers can be nice, people that dominate at level 20.
Exactly. And I'd say because the objective strength, I would put it rather low, actually. At least that's how I feel about it. I don't know, like 4 or 5 maybe. Not sure where it should be. Which brings us back to the boss can be a good win condition. Keep in mind, top lane there is a boss, which also means top lane is pretty important to kill the fort and then later open up the keep. Because that's the lane you can, you know, maybe push down with the boss and just win the game.
Is that the first fort you want to kill? Top fort?
I think if you can kill any fort with the first web weaver phase, it's already good. If you can choose.
First or second wave, if you had to choose, top, mid, or bot.
Yeah, top is good, I think, to kill top. Yeah, I like pushing top on Tomb. But if you ask someone else, he would maybe give you a different answer. But I think killing top is good.
I like killing mid.
Killing mid, yeah.
Because I think like top, yes, is a part of the win condition, but you can still soak top quite safely because it feels quite far inside. So like you're not as scared, and you can also escape via 2 ways when you're top. Either the little tunnel with the bush and stuff, or all the way back to your keep. But when mid goes away,
you kind of lose the anchor point, right? If mid is away. That's true.
To both base stations.
Yeah, and bottom actually is important as well in its own way, because the easy camp, you have to deal with it, right? So when the fort is gone, it starts shooting the keep, which is a very important building as well. So I think all 3 lanes are kind of important.
I think bot has the biggest curvature. Therefore, when the enemy gets your fort and catapults come in, you have the most distance to travel away from various points of importance, like top base station, your own safety, and the boss. So, yeah, in a way,
actually,
top feels least valuable to me.
You might be right. Maybe with the first, actually, it's better to kill mid or bottom if I think about it now, because then you assert more dominance on the map itself. Yeah.
And once boss becomes a win condition, then you start focusing on top.
Then you can still kill the top 4. Yeah, true. Actually, yeah.
Not sure if I should encapsulate it in a tip. It's all about wave clear.
Yeah, wave clear.
Get some late game scalers.
Yeah. Stalling and vision once again, right? Yeah. I think that sums it kind of.
Vision and stalling. Okay. I think that's good enough. The rest is within the written portion of our discussion. Towers of Doom.
Yeah. Is it, by the way, what's your favorite map overall? I wonder.
I think Shire and Battlefield.
Okay. And for me, it's actually Towers. So I really like Towers. It's very unique, right? It's a map that like you can't kill the opponent's core by just running it down. You actually have to win the altars, right? So I think on Towers, wave clear is important. As always, right? I think stalling the objective, or like having heroes that provide vision and control over the points, because it's a very like map-centered playstyle. Like you fight for mid shrine or you fight for bottom shrine, and then the altar, sorry. And it's like very important to be strong around those points. There's a lot of walls, so Hanzo scatters, Diablo. Wall stands and so on.
I'm showing you my win rate, how Towers of Doom is my second lowest.
I see. Yeah. Maybe it gets better now after you hear me talking a bit about it.
I'm listening. You're saying wave clear is important. I never think of wave clear that much when I think of this
it is, man. Like clearing mid and then rotating to bottom, so you control bottom as well. The Zappas on bottom, right? So wave clear is for sure important.
I'm always thinking like cool heroes like Genji Tracer, Zera end up owning here. It always goes to level 20 for me, and I feel like it's sometimes won by the solo laner and how often they join the 4-man.
Yeah. So having a strong solo laner is very important then, right? And I agree on that. On Towers of Doom, having a solo laner that maybe wins the matchup, but even more importantly, that can soak top and then rotate to mid, get that wave as well, rotate to top again, and maybe even threaten the easy camp. But that is like the dream, right?
Do you think the 4-man should help clear mid?
Yes, I think so, yes.
So it's not just about getting a duo guy, like a duo laner.
1-3-1. And sometimes the off lane will take a mid wave, so you don't have to do it with the other heroes. But sometimes you will have to help him or catch it because he's occupied.
1-3-1.
Yeah, you kind of want to push out mid, and then the heroes that pushed out mid, if you cleared the wave before the opponents, you then have the choice, right? You can rotate down or up to your easy camp, maybe even invade. I think it's very important to clear mid lane.
I never go top. I always see everyone is always camping bot. It's just like a 4-man bot party, like the old Blackheart's Bay, Zul, you guys go 4 bot kind of.
If you have the stronger 4-man, you can do that, right? And if the opponents play that game as well. But yeah.
It's not just me. Like it seems like all the teams at the levels that I play, either at like Diamond or like Masters 3K, I don't see people ganking top almost ever.
But it's so strong on the map. Like if you start doing it, I think it's so strong on that map. Like if you start to harass the opponent's offlane, especially if it's a more squishy one. Like if they drafted the Xul for double rotation, he's so easy to kill, right? To gank.
True.
Obviously, if it's a Blaze or Leoric, it's a bit different because they are very tanky. But I think a good offlaner on the map is important. I think wave clear is important, stalling, vision, and you said it goes to late game very often, so having to keep in mind to have maybe a good 20 can be important for drafting. But you can be very far ahead on this map in shots, but the opponents keeps up with experience, right? So don't be discouraged if you're behind in shots. Like, if you win a team fight, you can easily come back on Towers of Doom. Like, that's something to keep in mind. It's a map where comebacks are very, very much possible. Like, if you have better team fights late game, or if you have certain talent spikes, like let's say you need level 16 and then you start winning, you can be behind 20 shots. It doesn't matter. They can't kill your core. Like, you will come back into the game. And actually, that's why I like the map the most, honestly. It feels very dynamic for me, at least.
Not having a snowball encapsulated, a push snowball in the objective, feels fun.
Yes.
Everyone has a chance.
Yeah. I guess if they kill your bottom fort very early, and that sometimes happens, then the map feels frustrating, right? Because you can't really reclaim it. They have both Seppa camps, and then you're kind of stuck at your castle. That's true. That is usually if you make pretty big mistakes early game, though, that they kill your fort like that. So that you could just play better, right?
Yeah, great.
But yeah.
I'll delete the rest. But that's great. Thinking very playfully and relaxed about the shots, even when you're behind, and knowing you can always come back, so long as you regain actual map control.
Yes.
I think that's good. I think I'm gonna delete and remove tip number 2, which is that late game is good, and actually something that is obvious to us, but that we forgot to say so far, which is that killing the bottom fort is super important, and you'll explain why.
And defending as well, right? For that matter. So, if you kill the bottom fort, it's very easy to control. There's also 2 Seppa camps, right? Both easy camps push towards the bottom. They would add core damage if the opponents don't defend them. Sometimes you have heroes that can push them in easily. That might add up and actually give you, I don't know, bring them down to 5 shots, and then you have their bottom fort, right? So 1 altar is lethal in that case. And for the opponents, therefore, also defending bottom fort is important. It doesn't mean that you only spend your time on bottom, though, right? Because that's kind of what you said, that what's happening. And I guess that it might be sometimes the case, but I'd say push out mid lane first, and then you can rotate down. You clean up the wave, and then you see if you can maybe get a pick off, or maybe you send someone to gank top. Don't spend too much time on top, because once again you want to be back in mid, clear the wave, and then you play for your power spikes, basically. You try to keep your structures alive. That's how I see the map plays out. And this is a funky map in terms of like Vikings can be viable, Abathur, globals, because you sometimes have the triple altar phase, so you can generate value that you wouldn't be able on other maps with these. So that's like something to keep in mind as well. You can actually draft 4-man push plus Vikings.
Right. Yeah. 4-man push with Syl for Greymane, and Nubarak and Hammer, and then still have Vikings. Then you don't care as much about mid. You just control both, and only once you have it, you could like rotate. But yeah, that's a bit more advanced and not per se suitable for solo queue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it's something to keep in mind. And sometimes like offlane Vikings, they do work on that map if you play well on it. So yeah.
Okay. Interesting. I'm gonna try to pay more attention to the top lane as an individual. Whatever hero I am, like I'll try to see if we can do more mid clear, and at least have an option of going top. But definitely mid clear for vision, tower killing.
Yeah. Clear mid is very important, actually. Yeah.
Okay. The best for last.
Yeah, your worst map, Warhead Junction, 39%.
I can't win on this map. Like I keep going through different systems. Like, oh, I'll just draft like this. Oh, I'll just draft like this. And everything that I thought was good here just ends up like not working. Like, at first I thought Asmodan, Zagara, split push. Yeah, let's go. Then I realized how freaking fast people can rotate. They
come through the sewers. Yeah.
They come through the sewers. They take the vision. Okay, when I'm tank HasuObs, I take the vision. I leave, someone else takes it. I come back, I take it. 5 minutes later, I look at my watch. All I've done is take vision back. Then I think, if I'm taking vision from them and they keep retaking it back from me, I must be doing something right because they're doing it too. I'm wasting their time. It's multiple people that stop me. And then I lose someone on the side lane. How is it possible that I take vision against 2 guys all the time and we die on the side lane?
Yeah, it's your Zagara just pushing down the lane, not caring about anything, right? And then the Genji shows up or something. I think that Warhead is the map that is the least explored. Because, you know, it was reworked. It's very different from what it used to be.
Yeah.
I honestly, I don't know 100% how the meta should be on that map. I never scrimped on it, at least on this version of the map. I did play the old one in a tournament even, actually. But the map was very different. The nukes were a lot stronger than they are these days, right? If we rate the objective, I would say the nukes are rather weak.
And we have 2 bosses?
Cases, they can be, if you get the boss and you have 4 nukes, you usually just end the game, right? But like getting the early game nukes, I mean, you kill the wall and so on, but usually they don't do too much, right? That's how I feel, at least, about it.
Yes.
I think utilizing the sewers, like the tunnel, can be very strong on this map. Like, it's something to keep in mind. You rotate super quickly from top to bottom, and vice versa. I think as a general, so if we break it down, like everything, I think as always, do the camps, do the easy camp. It's the Hellbats, they reduce armor, they're good. Do the hard camp on top side as well. Maybe you can push with the hard camp, maybe you can push with the easy camp, right? That could be possible if the opponents are late or do something else, so you get a little bit of value. You said you're a tank, you're taking one of the watchtowers. I think that's actually correct. You should probably try to keep one of them, while the opponents have one themselves, right? It's not always going to be possible because there's some heroes that are super annoying. I don't know, like a Lucio or a Genji. They always dart around. They're so quick. They're going to reclaim it. In that case, you might as well kind of ignore it. Play with less vision, which is annoying. But I think it's possible. And I think on Warhead, the biggest win condition is actually the boss. The boss is extremely powerful, in my opinion. Sneaking it is hard because it fights back pretty hard as well while you're doing it. People sometimes lose a lot of HP while doing it if they don't dodge the skill shots of it. So ideally you get a kill or 2, and then you take the tunnel, get to top lane, do the boss, and then you go with it. Like, end the game, get out of here. Like, if you have a nuke or 2, it's even better. Like, the push is a lot stronger. In my opinion, the way I win games on Warhead is kind of do whatever early to mid game, get a kill and do the boss.
Yeah, I think I've heard that before. Like, some people are like, only top lane matters, only boss matters.
Kind of, yeah, I think so. I really think so. If you get 2 kills, like, take the sewers, like, if you kill them around bottom, you are very quickly towards top lane. Like, just keep in mind, like, the rotation is very quick from bottom to top. If you kill them on top lane, you're next to the boss anyways. Might as well go there. And if you then have the nukes with it, it's actually, you usually will end the game with it. It's very strong to push with it. S5, like, just group up together. Once you have the boss, go with it. It's a very good win condition.
Tip number 1, always try to hard force the boss when all enemies are alive.
And then the opponents pick Chen and they steal it, right? they kick you off it. I think the first point, do the camps. I think I guess wave clear is good, just on like any map, right? Having a bit of wave control. Do the camps. I don't know, like, I don't have a very good feeling for the map, honestly, but get to level 10, don't be too far behind, like these kind of things. Look for pickoffs, actually. So, people make mistakes, they walk alone into the watchtower, maybe 3 of you are there, you can kill that hero. Sometimes you can invade the opponent's easy camp if you know where the opponents are, right? The map is pretty big, so rotations, I mean, can be fast, but also can be slow, right? Depending on where they are. So, yeah, try to be proactive, I think, on Warhead, actually, maybe. Maybe that's what it is about.
So rotate a lot. Like, let's say I have had some of the best success when I feel like I've played the worst HOTS. Like, just take 4 or 5 people and push top. Like, just ignore a lane, 4 people pushing top, and while the enemy is like doing like a regular Dragon Shire split or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, that can work, right? If you have the draft for it, like a very strong format that can push, I think it kind of works on almost any map, right? It doesn't have to be Warhead. If you have like a good range carry that can actually take down structures, you have a good support with it, you can do it. I don't know if it's the best, but it definitely can work, yeah. I think besides that, mobility is actually good on Warhead, right? That's how I feel.
Mobility and rotating?
Yes. Yes, I think these two are probably very important on Warhead.
Is that particular to Warhead? I still feel like we've got to know further to carve out a unique niche of a simple tip that specifically applies here. I
don't know. I'm actually not 100% sure.
Okay. How about this?
Let me check my win rate on this map. Let me see.
Yeah.
This season, Warhead Junction, 57%. So I have 4 wins, 3 losses.
No. We need to check lifetime.
The lifetime. But there's the old Warhead in it, no? 50. It's still 57. 140 wins and 100 losses.
Are you online?
Yes.
Let's see. Oh yeah, okay. I have you here. I'm gonna show it. What? It's your best.
Wait. Did I check something else? Maybe I lied. Wait. Hold up.
I'm on Storm League lifetime HasuObs 63%. It's your best.
There's Hero League and yeah. Sorry, if I filter with but it has to be the old one.
Well, Hero League Team League is the old one.
No. Then yeah, you're right. Wait, how do I have the best win rate?
You're a specialist on this map. You're an expert.
Wait, let me check my match history. Let's see.
And you're
how
worst.
Do I win on this?
You're worst on Garden. Guess what my best map is? It's top 3.
Okay, Grubby. I lost with Hanamura most recently on Warhead. I won with Tassada.
What?
Let me scroll down.
Yeah.
Is there any other? I don't know what I'm doing on that map.
Blaze.
I actually don't know. I won with Sylvanas. Sylvanas sounds like a good hero to me on that map. I mean, she does on many maps, but I think Warhead is actually pretty good for her.
You lost with her too. Let me check mine.
Yeah.
Let's see. Warhead Junction. I lost with Karazim. Won with Zul.
Oh yeah, Xul should be good. Yeah, I like that. I like that hero on that map.
I think so. Lost with Vikings. Won with Hogger.
Wait, do you like Vikings actually on Warhead? I don't like it too much, I think. At least the newer version of Warhead.
We would have won this one, but I'll tell you what. We lost by 6% core.
Yeah.
And instead of casting Play Again with Eric, while we were near bottom open core, I was kind of cast Play Again near the Hellbat camp. I only had 1 Viking alive. Instead, I nuked the Hellbat camp by accident. Then decided to take it with my Play Again, then went core, then it got to 6%, which made me feel if we nuked core, probably core is dead.
Yeah, can happen, you know? Next time you don't nuke the Hellbat camp by accident. But, I mean, yeah. Apparently I'm an expert, but honestly, I feel kind of lost on that map. I just go by my feeling, honestly.
Well, you said it. So you do random stuff, and then you just go for the boss.
Yeah, so the way I feel on that map, I do a camp, I depush a camp, I walk around, I get to level 10, level 13, and if we get a pick off, I ping boss. Like, that's kind of what I do. If we get 2 kills or something, I usually instant rotate to boss. That's how I win on that map.
Okay. And then
I think mobility, like wave clear, like you named Xul. I think Sylvanas can be good. Honestly, I think Asmodan, like you said it at the very beginning, I think honestly he's fine on this map. I've seen it working. Like Fallen Master, he likes to pick it on this map. I've actually won a few times with him while he was doing that as well. Obviously, he also loses a lot with it, but it can definitely work. Yeah. Mobility, like tanks that can jump are good, I think. Stalling the nuke, trying to steal one. Yeah. There's one thing I want to mention though. If you use your nuke, try to time it so the minion wave dies as well. Something to, yeah, you will get a feeling for it, right? You will see it. Just try to pay attention to it. It's actually, it makes a big difference. Yeah.
Nuke, if you had a choice, top, mid, bot, only top?
I honestly use it on any lane.
Same. Some people say only top because, you know, it's the boss lane and whatnot, but like I'm happy with any 2 towers we kill anywhere.
Exactly. That's how I feel. Like generate the value right away. Like as I said, I feel like the nuke is not the strongest one. So if you get it off, you kill the wall. I think that's pretty good already. You should do it if you can. If you are channeling, sometimes there's heroes that gonna interrupt you, and sometimes it's very obvious when people want to channel their nuke. So please be mindful. The opponents are not always AFK. They will punish you, right, if you're squishy walking up. But yeah, I think the boss is a very, very big part of this map. So late game kills matter a lot. If you die level 16 or later in the game, the opponents will get the boss and they will probably end the game with it. Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna try to make it not my worst map. And
Yeah,
towers.
good luck with that. Good luck with that.
Where was your Warhead win rate? It was your best, right?
Yeah, you said it was my best apparently. I guess. So if you lost the team fight, right, and they're coming with a boss, don't waste your nuke like offensively. Keep it for the deep push. It's gonna help a bit. It doesn't usually make the biggest difference. You probably still lose to the boss, but it's better than using it aggressively. Like some people, I don't know, they just shoot it at the opponent's keep, but it would be much better to keep it for the defense. Like it's gonna help you a little bit.
Okay, we'll try. It's funny because your top two maps are actually my bottom two. So hopefully. Besides us maybe teaching some people some nice tips for different maps, I can also learn a little bit from it and improve those. HasuObs, thanks so much for joining me to try and create these map tips for some people that are already playing HOTS or are looking to start. Where can people find out more about you if they want to watch your stream, your competitions, or whatever?
Yeah, I do stream pretty often on Twitch as well, Liquid HasuObs, and I do upload most of our tournament games and some Strong League highlights onto YouTube as well, Liquid HasuObs there as well. So check it out. I hope it wasn't too long today, guys. I know, like, you know, there's a lot of maps actually in HOTS, and some of them are pretty complex if you talk about it. I hope it was still fun. Like for me, it was actually, like thinking and talking about the maps with you. I had a good time, and thank you very much for having me, Grubby.
I always enjoy talking to you, man. It was fun. Maybe next time we'll play some games together. And thanks for joining. I know it's late for you. And yeah, have a great day.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Okay, see you, man. Bye.